If you find yourself feeling behind, it doesn't matter how much you work, you still feel like you're never on top of things, or you're stacking more tasks on your to-do list, adding more, but still feeling like it's not enough. Or maybe the money, the career success, the achievements, the accolades, the recognition doesn't have the same buzz anymore. The new car, the luxury holiday, new furniture, new clothes doesn't give you the same feeling, it doesn't light you up that it once did. And so in this episode, I'm going to talk about the dopamine hit that's keeping you stuck on this hamster wheel where you never feel fully satisfied or fulfilled. I'm going to talk about the difference between satisfaction and fulfillment and why it matters to the way that you feel, your health, your vitality, your happiness, and your long-term success. So for years, I found myself working hard to launch things, and I've always thought, as soon as I launch it, things will go back to normal, go back to a normal speed, but the problem was, as soon as I finished launching that, I would stack something else and another thing. And so I never slowed down. And I had this philosophy, which doesn't work, by the way, but I would think that I would stack all these deadlines. I would pack everything onto my schedule and they all had deadlines. So I was like, well, I have to get them done. I'll just have to work really hard to get them done. There's not a lot of fun in doing that. You can get more done, but it creates a lot more stress and probably not doing your best work either. That's what I found. So if you're finding yourself in a similar situation that you're always saying, just another couple of months, I'll get over this part and then things will slow down for me, right? But you find that you're always putting more onto your schedule. You're always trying to achieve more. You're always changing the goalposts, right? And so in business, there are things that you must do and there are times when it's very busy and that's legitimate. But I want you to ask yourself, are you feeling fulfilled in your business and in your work and the things that you do day to day? Or are you chasing satisfaction? Now, I want to talk about the distinction between satisfaction and fulfillment. So satisfaction is when you're feeling satisfied. So when you tick off something from your to-do list, when you achieve a goal, when you hit a certain personal best in your business or in your fitness regime, whatever it is, you feel a sense of satisfaction. The problem with satisfaction is that it needs constant topping up, right? So if you've noticed that something that used to satisfy you before, something that you did in your business, no longer has that satisfaction, right? And so it's like this dopamine addiction. It's a dopamine hit. We need to keep hitting the dopamine button, but then our brain becomes desensitized to it. And so we need bigger achievements, bigger goals in order to get that same hit. But it's always escaping us. We never get to that place where we feel truly fulfilled. And so satisfaction, there's no end to it. It needs constant topping up. And so what you'll find is that you'll have one goal. As soon as you achieve it, you'll move straight on to the next goal, okay, without really celebrating it. So I've certainly seen this for myself. I hit a really big milestone in my business last year, and I remember having this conversation with my brother, and he was like, wow, that's amazing. I said, yeah. And then I talked about all these other issues that I had to resolve and what I was working on next. And he's like, hold on a second. Can you just take a moment to be grateful for where you're at and to really celebrate and appreciate where you're at? And I was like, busted, because I wasn't, right? My mind had already moved on to the next thing. And so when we're caught up in that satisfaction craving or chasing satisfaction, we're never feeling satisfied and it's really exhausting, okay? Because we don't realize that fulfillment, which I'll talk about, is much more nourishing, okay? But satisfaction is going to be much more draining, okay? Because we're always chasing, we're never slowing down the nervous system. We're always on, our brain's always ticking over, we're always looking for the next thing. And so there's never a gap, there's never a moment to slow down. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is very different. It's nourishing, it's energizing, it has life force in it, it feeds the soul. And it feels so much better than satisfaction. And actually, that's what we're chasing. When we're chasing satisfaction, we're really chasing fulfillment, that when we get that goal, we're going to feel a sense of inner peace, like contentment. A feeling of contentment is a really higher state mentally and emotionally, and we're feeling really good about ourselves and about our life. And so I want you to think back to moments when you have felt fulfilled, right? There will be moments in your life when you have felt this sense of really feeling fulfilled. What did that feel like? Where did it come from? How did you get it? So these are really important questions to ask ourselves, because most people think by chasing and achieving more and hitting a new personal best in whatever area, or having a new car or a new house or a new holiday or new partner, whatever it is going to be fulfilling. But that's really chasing satisfaction. And so we're never going to get to that place that we're really yearning to get to. So fulfillment is a feeling. It's a higher state of mind, a higher state of consciousness, or a higher state of well-being. And we don't need to get anything from the outside in order to feel fulfilled. And that's kind of where we go wrong, right? So we feel like if we get all these achievements, if we get in a better place financially, we'll feel really good and we'll feel really fulfilled, okay? And then that moment arises and it's like a blip, right? We don't even notice it, we don't really celebrate it, and we don't really feel fulfilled as we thought that we would. So fulfillment is a natural state, right? It's a natural state of our being when we're in a higher state of consciousness. Like I said, a higher state of well-being, when we're really in the moment. It's the gaps in between all the doing, okay? And that's kind of the best way that I can describe it. It's not the doing that feels fulfilling. It's the space in between. Because it's our natural state, when we're always doing and being busy and even being present on a task, because I have confused this myself, like when I've been super focused and really productive on the day, like I'm really focused and present. I'm not talking about focus. And it's a different kind of presence. It's about really being more connected to yourself. And it's the gaps in between all the busyness that we feel that contentment and that fulfillment. So fulfillment is a feeling. It's not something we get by doing. When our mind slows down and we're in that space, we elevate our level of consciousness and we create these feelings of fulfillment. And in fact, some of the barriers to fulfillment is doing the things that we do because we are chasing satisfaction, but what we really want is fulfillment, right? And so some of the biggest barriers to fulfillment is just looking in the wrong direction, right? Just looking at achieving more, and really burning yourself out and wondering why you never feel like you've arrived. Like you never feel you're at that place where you feel like, yes, I'm so happy I'm here. So when you're feeling satisfied after a meal, if the waiter comes around and says, look, this is what we have for dessert, you're like, yes, I will have that. Thank you very much. That looks good. But when you're fulfilled, you don't want another thing. Okay, the waiter comes around with the dessert and you're like, nope, I have no desire to eat that. I feel very content. And that's kind of the difference. So if you're feeling like there's always something more that you want, there's always more, there's more, then you're chasing satisfaction, you're not chasing fulfillment. And that is a road to unhappiness, burnout, exhaustion, and never getting to that place where that place between the moments, the place in the gaps, where we get the best stuff. We get fulfillment, we get peace and contentment, we get our best ideas, we just get into a higher state of well-being in those places. But if we're always doing and we're stacking, like I used to do, stacking tasks and deadlines, we're never going to create the moments for that. So like I said, the biggest barriers to fulfillment is not looking in that direction, looking in the direction of satisfaction, like constantly striving to achieve more, to be more recognized, to have more accolades, to accumulate more, right? If we don't understand that fulfillment doesn't come from those things, then we're going to keep stuck on that hamster wheel. And really what I've seen is that when you're disconnected from yourself, so if you've been very busy, and I've certainly been like this, that you kind of get lost in all the busyness, you get lost in, particularly in business, there are challenges that arise that you really need to be all in, and it takes so much of your headspace and your focus that doesn't create a lot of space in your mind and in your life. And then we end up really kind of, if we get stuck on this, we feel very disconnected from our true nature, from ourselves, right? And in episode 52 of the podcast, I talked about how it's so important to have this time to connect with yourself, okay? And the gifts that we get from it, okay? Because if we're not slowing down and spending time doing nothing, and I'm not saying a long time, it could be 10 minutes, but if we're not getting those moments, those gaps, we're losing connection to ourselves. We're losing connection to these deeper feelings that are very nourishing and they're very sustaining, they're rejuvenating, they will sustain your success, they will be like a shot of vitality serum, okay? And if we're not creating moments for that, we're just going to miss out. So the reason why chasing fulfillment or looking in the direction of fulfillment. I'm not saying don't reach your goals and your achievements and all of that. Of course you're going to do that. Nothing I say will make you stop that. But look in the direction of fulfillment as well, okay? Because it's important for your health. It gets you out of that fight or flight response. It gets you out of the system being in that overactive response and gets you back into homeostasis in the body. So balancing your hormones, balancing your metabolism. It's important for your happiness and it's important to sustain your success. I don't see anyone who is burning themselves out who is happy and able to sustain that level. They all come and they're like, I want out of my business. I want out of what I'm doing. Okay. So it's really important to look at all these factors in sustaining your success. So I have a question for you today, and I want you to leave a comment below. Are you chasing satisfaction or are you cultivating fulfillment? Are you looking for fulfillment or do you find yourself chasing satisfaction? Let me know in the comments below.